Welcome to After the Wedding. I'm your host, Sabrina Porter. In 2025, we celebrate 20 years of hosting lovely, joy-filled weddings here at Villa Sienna. In celebration, we decided to embark on an interview project about what happens after the wedding. Thank you for joining us as we hear from couples who've been building their marriage for many years. We appreciate how they've chosen to share their joy and challenges as they navigate their life together. Welcome to After the Wedding. I'm Sabrina Porter, your host, and today I'm so thrilled that we are able to speak with Gabby and Josh, who got married here at Villa Sienna about 13 years ago?
Almost 15.
Oh, 15. I'm sorry. Okay, I should have looked that up right before. Okay. All right, 15 years ago. Mm-hmm. That's incredible. What day is your anniversary?
May 29th.
All right, so it's coming right up. Mm-hmm. I mean, pretty soon here. I can't believe 15 years has gone by. That's unbelievable. The two of you have just been busy bees. Mm-hmm. So I really appreciate you coming and chatting with us, especially because we are actually re-recording this session. We had some audiovisual problems, and so I so appreciate that you're willing to come back.
Absolutely.
So I'd actually like to, let's see. I want to start first with your most recent big, exciting accomplishment, if you don't mind, because this is such a big deal that has happened in the last 6 months, the last 2 months, right?
Yeah.
Tell us a little about what you've recently been doing.
A couple years ago, I went back to school for nursing, and I graduated in December. So
yay!
Yeah, excited.
Very exciting. And now you're a full-fledged nurse.
Yes, I passed on the 5th.
On the 5th of January.
Yeah, so very fresh, but I passed.
Very fresh. So that's so exciting. Mm-hmm. So, and Josh, he's just a lawyer, accomplished Harvard lawyer, but we'll talk about that a little later. But that's so exciting to have that new accomplishment under your belt, because a lot has happened since you got married 14 3/4 years ago, right? So let's back up, and I'd love it if you'd be willing to just share with me, just kind of leading up to your wedding and, your story, how you met. How did you meet?
Want to go?
Sure. We met in high school, at Tempe Preparatory Academy here in Arizona.
Yeah.
We didn't date in high school. We began dating in college. But importantly, we were friends in high school, and we were friends in college before we started dating. And so, I think a lot of people now, dating sites are common nowadays, but that's really not how we met. It was much more organic than that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I can say more if you want, or you can say more.
We did speech debate together. And we were really just friends for a while. And then I started school, and we talked on the phone a lot. He's pretty smart. And honestly, I had a big paper, our senior thesis in high school. So he was a freshman, I was a senior, and I had never had to write a big paper. And we were friends prior to that through school, but like our friendship, I think, got deeper when I called him that one night, and I was like, hey, I have this 10-page paper that's due tomorrow. Can we talk about it? Yeah. And, we bounced ideas, and we ended up, I think I called him at I think it was about 8 o'clock that I called him, and we ended up talking to about 1 a.m.
Oh.
And just kind of went from there.
From there. So you were still in high school, you were a freshman in college, and then you joined him at college that following year.
Yes.
And you both went to ASU. Mm-hmm. Yes. And what did you major in? I guess I don't really know that.
I double majored in psychology and family and human development.
Okay.
I did philosophy and political science.
I love that.
Yeah.
Excellent. So then how long would you say you dated formally before you got married?
About 3 years, because we started dating in September of 2008, and then we got married in May 2011. That's right, 2011.
Yeah, about a year and a half before I proposed, and then another year and a half-ish until we got
engaged. I was very young when we got engaged, but I knew that I wanted to be done with with college before we got married.
So
I did graduate a year early to do that, but
yeah,
it was
you
done.
sped through college.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I do remember that you were very quick on that.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's talk a little now, since you got married at Villa Sienna, which, I remember as being such a beautiful day, and you had your ceremony in this room, which was lovely. Do you have any memories about your wedding that you feel like, I don't know, have been meaningful to you over the years?
I feel like, if I'm honest, I feel like a lot of that day went by kind of in a blur, because I was the one, I did a lot of the planning and the details, and I'm a little bit of a type A sort of person. So I had a lot of that going on. I remember getting there in the morning and you guys weren't ready yet. And I remember being a little nervous about that. But I just remember getting there and just thinking that morning, because we woke up at, I think, like 3 a.m, because we had to get our hair done, and I had all the girls with me. And, because we had we got married at I think it was 9:30 was our start time. It was pretty early. And, I just remember thinking, okay, all I have to do is I just have to make sure that I get there with all the stuff. As long as I have all the stuff, once I get there, everything will be taken care of. And that's one of the things that I appreciated a lot about getting married here, was that, everything was taken care of. As long as I just brought what I needed, I was good.
Your dress. I always say, if you can show up in your dress, we got it covered.
We got we got the dress. We got all the little table stuff.
Yeah, your various decor items. Yeah. Yes. Okay. Wonderful.
Yeah, I would echo that, because, on the wedding day, what you want to be thinking about is the other person, and you also want to be thinking about interacting with people that maybe you haven't seen in a long time, family and friends who come in, that kind of thing. So it's really nice to be able to focus on that and not have to focus on the logistics that go behind, wedding planning. So I thought that was really nice. I actually also, given that we were inviting a lot of people, I wanted to make sure that they were fed well. I wanted to make sure that we had good food. And I remember distinctly that it was really good food. So that was a priority to me, and that was met. So,
and I also, in the planning process, as the one who was, thinking about that a lot. Not because he didn't want to help, but because I didn't let him. I don't know if you still have it this way, but you have the preferred provider vendor list. And that just made it easy, because I knew that whoever I went to on that list was going to be fine. So I appreciated that. And I think, I feel like a big part of why it was able to go by in a blur was because I had so many people that I hadn't seen. We had a lot of out of town family.
People coming in.
Yeah. Because we graduated from college earlier that month.
Right.
So people came for both of those events, lots of family, his family that I hadn't met before. Same thing on his end. Just being able to spend time with everybody all day. And there was just so many people, and
it's quite a whirlwind.
Yeah. It is a lot.
The two of these lovely people were friends with our son and his wife, who also went to Tempe Prep. And they did the same thing, where they graduated and then they got married, all in a whirlwind.
Yeah,
and
it's a big weekend.
It's a big, it's a lot at one time. So, okay. So let's move forward a little bit to that first year you were married, and just wondering if you can think of anything that was a surprise. Now, obviously you'd kind of been together quite a while at that point, but do you remember any surprises about early marriage and kind of what that felt like to you?
For me, I would say the most, I don't know if maybe surprising is not exactly the right word I would use, but the most, maybe unexpected was, and it's going to sound silly, but there was another person in my space. You can't keep your stuff there. That's where my stuff goes. This is how I keep my stuff, and you keep your stuff in a weird way. And I don't, again, I'm a little type A, but, that was just kind of realizing that we are not separate people, and we are coming together and creating our own house, was different.
Yeah, just making space for that other person.
Yeah.
I always like to think of it as a little bit like a terrarium. You're kind of in there together. And so you have to keep it nice for everybody, so we can all live in there happily together. But yeah, you're definitely sharing that space. And what about you, Josh? Did you have anything that?
I think space is a good one. I don't remember how big our first apartment was in Eastridge, near Tempe.
It was little. It was like 600. I think it was 650.
Was it 650 square feet?
Yeah.
I mean, it was
just a 1-bedroom.
Yeah, it was not a lot of space. And so, just navigating that with two people, I hadn't done that before.
We moved to Boston and had even less space. So we had to cut that down even
now,
more.
was that right? Now, tell me about that decision. So you'd gotten married, and then that next step was you were moving to Boston.
Yeah.
What was that adventure about?
It's yours.
Yeah. So, we knew when we got married that I was going to go to law school. But I think I decided at your advice, or I can't remember how we made this decision.
It was a pretty joint decision.
Yeah.
I think because you were almost 22. I had just turned 21. I was still living at home when I got married because I was, very young, and we were going to be moving across country and didn't know anyone there. He had some family in upstate New York, but that's still a good 6 hours from Boston. And
so we decided to spend a year married together before going across the country to law school.
That was good.
So, and actually I ended up teaching at the school where our daughters, I was a teacher and you were a teaching assistant. And I thought that was an important first year because it gave us a year to figure out life together. I will say, I assumed that teaching would be less stressful than my first year of law school. That was not true.
It's not the case.
So,
one L, they've got nothing on a first year teacher.
First year of teaching is at least as stressful as the first year of law school. So that turned out not to be true. But I still think there's value in taking some time to, not change too much about your life during the first year of marriage, because that already is a significant change. So
that's a good insight. I like that insight a lot. It definitely, sometimes there's all these changes at once. You're getting married, you're moving, you're doing a lot of things, and that does add stresses. So you have to pace your stresses. Pace them a little bit. Okay. So then it was time to move, and you moved across the country, and you didn't know anyone.
Nope.
And so then you really got to know each other.
Yep.
Yeah. That summer I've born and raised in Arizona. So we go to Boston, and I'm thinking, okay, I'm looking at the average temperature in the summer. It's 85 degrees. That's great. That's wonderful. We don't need an AC, because if we rent one in June when we got there, it only covered half the summer, but you have to pay the full package. I was like, I don't want to pay for, it's expensive to live there. So I was like, I don't want to pay for the whole package for half the summer.
Right.
It's literally the hottest, worst summer of my life in Boston. It's
so humid.
Oh yeah.
The humidity, 85 in Boston is very different than 85 here.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
So I know I always say, poor people from Arizona, we go anywhere and we're like, it's too hot here because we're so accustomed to the air conditioning. So was there anything from that time period that you feel like you really learned about each other? I mean, were there new things that you learned about each other, or learned about being married and sharing your life with someone else?
For me, I would say that time, a lot of people will say that the first few years of marriage, the first year in particular, tend to be some of the hardest. But at least for me, and I think you would agree with this, I felt like our marriage was the easiest
at that time,
in those first few years, because I just felt like we were friends hanging out. Like, I know that sounds not very romantic, but it's like, if you're going to spend your life with someone, you want them to be your friend. And he was my friend. And I'd come home from work. My commute was really long because, public transportation and everything. And I loved my job. I loved my friends at my job. But at the end of the day, I was like, I want to come home and hang out with him. Even if we're just sitting on the couch watching Netflix, he's who I want to be spending time with. And so that I look back on that time in Boston very fondly, because I feel like it was an opportunity to really connect in a way that when we came back, I was pregnant, and there was less connection when you have kids.
There's more. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
that's more responsibility.
Sounds like it was just it was a special time there. You were both working hard, obviously, but that friendship aspect, which you already had for quite a few years, was even more developed.
Yeah.
So you really had, before you had children, a pretty good amount of time.
About 6 years.
Yeah. That did really help provide a solid foundation, because I agree, having kids is a
if we had
change.
I think if at least for speaking for us, if we had kids sooner, there's never a perfect time to have kids, right? But given where we were in our lives, and you in school, and we didn't have any family there, we were in, I think that apartment was 538 square feet or something like that. Very tiny.
So you went to an even smaller apartment.
Oh yeah. It would have just been so incredibly overwhelming. And I think even if we didn't have all those other things, law school and things going on, moving, I think it would have been just really hard. Not that it's a bad choice or a wrong choice. I just think it would have been tough for us.
What do you think about I was going to ask you about, were you looking for anything particular in a spouse? Because I know a lot of people that's a big thing now with dating apps, especially. They have things that they imagine that they want to have in a person. What do you think about that whole concept?
I think given that we've sort of moved to dating apps, and that's like how people meet each other a lot of the time, I think on the one hand, I think it's kind of good because it sort of forces you to sit down and think about those things. I think sometimes, maybe I guess I could see it maybe potentially leading to unrealistic expectations, but I think it's important to sit and think about what you want. I'll be honest, I wasn't thinking anything. I was not, when we started dating, I wasn't like looking for a relation. Like it just evolved very organically. And so if the honest answer to that question for me, what I was looking for, I hadn't even thought about it to be, I wasn't thinking like I'm going to get married anytime soon necessarily.
Is there anything that you've found that you sort of feel like, wow, it's actually worked out pretty well because we've aligned on this thing, or do you feel like it's been a negotiation on most everything?
I'll let you answer. What do you think?
Yeah, what do you think about that?
I mean, you're all welcome to answer too. I think we have largely shared fundamental values. We both went to Tempe Prep. We both grew up in similar households, both religiously and sort of, I don't know,
temperamentally.
Temperamentally actually quite different, but religiously and I guess financially, socioeconomically is a better way to put it.
Yeah.
So, we have shared values at a deep level that I think are good. So that worked out, I think. It's caused us not to be very far apart in terms of major life decisions, which has really helped because I do know of some couples who do not have shared fundamental values, and that can be really hard when you have a major life decision, and you've got to negotiate that. So not to say we haven't had our differences, but I think that there's a lot more in common between us than different.
And I think a lot of that just stemmed from the fact that we were friends first. I feel like, again, we have our differences, but like, he's my puzzle piece. I feel like
that's nice.
I don't know. I really like you.
I like you too. And I think, well, it's a good point about being friends first, because like, usually you're not friends with someone who has diametrically opposite fundamental values that you do. There are exceptions, but like, I think in general, that's true. And so you get that sense of someone if you spend a lot of time with them first. I think that dating sites, especially when you focus on superficial characteristics of someone, like I want someone to meet these criteria, and they're like, they need to make this much money, or they need to be, this tall. Sure. I guess I'm speaking in my own self-interest against that. But, I think that superficial type of criteria doesn't isn't really a good gauge of whether someone
doesn't hold up as well, does it?
Well, and it's kind of hard, you know, like I get why they have that criteria, because how else are you going to determine, you know, in an online platform compatibility beyond something that you can kind of measure, you know what I mean? But,
yeah, so it sounds like your friendship has just been so foundational in your relationship, and that's a really nice thing. What do you do to build your friendship right now? I'm jumping around a little bit. What do you do to build your friendship now? I mean, is that something that do you talk a lot? Do you know, like, what is your primary? I always say, my husband and I talk, you know, I heard Jordan Peterson say something on Instagram about, you need to set aside 90 minutes a week. And I was thinking, wow, we talk 90 minutes a day at least, you know? Yeah. So I think everybody's different with how much talking, and you've got young children, so it's a whole different ball game. But what do you do? What's your
He calls me a lot. I mean, I call him a lot too. In the beginning, I had to like tone down how much I would call him. We talked on the phone a lot. But whenever he goes on breaks at work, and he needs, I think, well, I'll let you speak to that, but, just mental breaks. And so he calls me and we chat. But like, you also go through seasons of work where you're just really busy, and he goes to work at like 6 a.m, and I don't hear from him till he comes home at 10 at night sometimes, you know? But
it's a
long day. Yeah. But I think we talk a lot. And I think, I mean, the last couple of years, we've just been in a really, really busy season with me in school, him working, got 2 kids in school. And so, yeah, it's just been a lot.
So is talking your primary way to maintain your friendship? I mean, do you like play Scrabble? I mean,
yeah. I think Josh probably wishes we played.
Yeah, I really like board games, and Gabby does not.
I don't like learning new things. That's not true. I like learning new things, but like I have a really hard time. I like knowing how to play a board game that I've already learned. Sometimes.
So it depends on the board game and whether.
Well, because he likes really long, intense strategy board games.
Oh, gotcha.
Which are fine. I can get into that once in a while.
Yeah.
His appetite for that is just much bigger than mine.
Right. Exactly. Well, and you probably have some appetites in other arenas that
I audiobook. I love listening to audiobooks. And that's one thing that we do actually, is we have been listening to audiobooks together.
Oh, like if you have a drive or something.
We went to Disneyland earlier this year, and we listened to Dungeon Crawler Carl.
Yeah.
That's fun.
And it was good.
I know you have 2 people, and now you've added 2 more people, trying to figure out what 4 people
right.
all enjoy doing together.
I like to listen to my audiobooks a little faster than he does.
On like double speed?
Like triple speed.
Oh my goodness.
It depends.
She's got an active mind, doesn't she?
Yeah. But Josh is not a triple speed sort of person.
Listener.
So sometimes my mind wanders when it goes a little slow.
When it goes slow. Oh, interesting.
But it's been good. We've listened to a few books together. Sometimes it can be hard finding, like when we're not in the car, having, you know, we come home and we listen to it before we go to bed, but then like I fall asleep because it's going so slow.
But that's a nice thing to do together.
Yeah. And I'll also say, you know, we do shared activities with the kids.
Oh yeah.
So like we'll go to the mall with the kids. They really like this arcade game type store right now in the mall that we go to, or even something as simple as like they ice skate. So if we take them to an ice skating lesson or competition, and we're both there. So,
right.
You know, there are things that we do as a family that result in time that we can spend together too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Building the relationship and the friendship. I just want to follow up on something you were talking about, how your minds kind of work differently. And I think it highlights something that I think every marriage has, which is just differences in how people think and how they are, just sort of fundamentally. And so that's probably something, you guys are both so bright and thoughtful that you probably, and I didn't prepare you for this idea, but how do you feel like you navigate differences as you know, just natural differences that occur? I mean, is that something you have to spend a lot of time thinking and talking about? Or is it a natural, organic kind of process? How does that work for the two of you?
I think probably a little bit of both.
Yeah, I think it really depends on the situation. So I mean, there are minor things. First of all, if we have a difference, I think, on something that only one of us feels strongly about, then usually the other of us just like, yeah, that's fine.
I'm usually the one who feels strong.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So it's funny that you say that. So now we're talking a little about if you have a conflict or something you don't agree about and you might approach it differently. I think it is kind of common where one person may have one person is a little more flexible on more things. They maybe have their things that they're not flexible on, but then they can be more flexible if the other one has a strong opinion about it. Is that how it works for the two of you?
I would say, if sometimes we've even said, okay, on a scale of 1 to 10, how important is this to you? Write it down and then we show each other at the same time.
Get your card and turn it over.
Situation. And usually if there's something that is because he doesn't have a lot of strong preferences, just generally, that's just not really who you are. When he does have a strong preference, I'm much more inclined to be like, oh, okay, I should maybe accommodate or pay attention to this and, circle back and discuss this some more before saying, no, this is how I want to do it or whatever. So, yeah.
Do you feel like in those early years, or even maybe you still are in this, that there's kind of a lot of trying to figure out who's going to say what's going to happen? Who's in charge of saying what's going to happen? I mean, it could be anything from here's what we're eating for dinner and here's what we're going to do to here's where I'd like to move to,
I think we kind of have our own, our domains sort of, and we just kind of fell into them. So a lot of the home stuff is, I don't want to say it's my domain because I'm not going to make a big financial decision about our house without talking to him about it first. But, I was a stay-at-home mom for 8 years. After we came back from Boston, that's what I did. I wanted to go back to work. I had a job lined up, but did the math and it just financially made more sense for me to be at home, given what I wanted and just the logistics and everything. And so I kind of had a groove of how I keep the house, and I was responsible for dinner and, and he enjoys, doing the bills and finances and stuff. And I hate that. I hate that so much. But I have a chronic health condition, so I know how to navigate insurance and doctor visits and things like that. So that's sort of my area of the finances is I argue with the insurance and I argue with the collections people trying to bill us for something we shouldn't owe or whatever. And you do all of the rest of the finances. And I like it like that.
So it seems like it's like divide the world a little bit in certain arenas.
Yeah.
And then you have your domain where and how do you feel about that, Josh? Is that how you see it?
That is how I see it. And I agree that it happened organically because, if something needs to get done, the person who either is most interested in it or most capable of doing it or has the time to do it sort of generally just does it. And so that has led to this situation where I do finances. I take out the trash. I replace the water around the house, that kind of thing. Whereas Gabby more often does kids' laundry. It's not to say I never do kids' laundry, but just, I think there's sort of a unspoken default. But that's not, like you mentioned food, for example. I will, if I'm coming home at a reasonable time from work, I'll call and I'll say, what are you thinking of dinner? Do you already have plans? Do you want me to pick up something?
Once upon a time, I used to have plans. I used to meal plan and I was like, oh, well, we're having this for dinner tonight. Yeah. And now it's nope, no idea. What do you want to
do? Yeah. So, yeah. But I try to also let her know hey, I got to work late tonight. So you really can't rely on me to pick up something or to help out.
So that in the beginning, especially when our first daughter was young, that was hard because you had started working at the law firm when Ava was a baby, when Charlotte was a baby. and having even just one baby, but especially two, a 2.5-year-old and a newborn, and him not coming home till, 10, 11, 12 at night.
Yeah.
I had to, and I think that's also in part how I don't think that we've grown apart as we've been married. I don't feel like we've grown apart, but we definitely have our own, I guess you could call it, domains of sort of interests and things that, there's enough of an overlap that he's still my best friend. But on those nights when he was gone or I had the babies all day, like I had to find something to do to entertain myself. That's how I got into audiobooks, and that's something that we share now to some degree. I feel like.
So you had to be pretty independent.
Yeah. And that, honestly, I think that was actually one of the hardest parts of
your marriage so far.
Navigating marriage is figuring out like, okay, well, when I can't be glued to your side, like I would want to be, who am I? I kind of got not stuck, but when you become a mom, as I know, a lot of your identity can be wrapped up in momness. And kind of figuring out, okay, well, what can I do for myself to relax? What can I do when you have time? That's not my identity as a mom or a wife or a homemaker or whatever.
And so that process, is that how you decided to go back to school to become a nurse?
Yes, I would say was definitely part of it. The biggest thing was after I had my first baby, Ava really struggled to breastfeed. And so I, got really interested in lactation because I saw a lactation consultant who was very helpful. And I was, I was in some mom groups on Facebook and people were asking questions. I was like, oh, I know this one. I can help you with that. I had this same problem. And it just was very rewarding being able to help people going through the breastfeeding. It's hard. And there's all sorts of, information that you don't get told that is conflicting and judgment of, oh, you're not breastfeeding enough, or you should use formula or you shouldn't, or whatever. There's so much that I just really wanted to be able to support other moms. So I kind of got into doing that. And then, when I had my second baby, my postpartum nurse, I was telling her, oh yeah, I'm interested in lactation. And I kind of wish I had gone to nursing school because I had almost done that. I changed my major at the last minute to psychology because they had kind of scared me away from it, saying, it's a really hard program to get into and you're going to be a 5th-year senior if you start now. And I was like, well, I don't want to do that, So, and my postpartum nurse said, you can go back to school. It's not too late. Take all your prerequisites while this baby is young. When she hits kindergarten, you can go to nursing school. It's only a couple years. It's not too late. And I was like, oh, and so that's exactly what I did. I did that because
I love that story. And I really think that it's nice to see, I think, that life and marriage is this journey. It's just this journey. And some people think, and maybe in the 40s and 50s and 60s, maybe people got married and got their job and then worked at 3M for 40 years and, that everything. But I think the world isn't like that now. And there's so much more choice, and, being open to those experiences and that flexibility in your relationship and in your life probably is something we all need to be, in today's day and age. That's really what it is. It's going to be that way. And it's a great adventure, right?
Yeah.
I want to talk a little bit about conflict with the two of you because you're both such accomplished speech and debate, plus now a lawyer, attorney level skill.
A nurse.
Yes. And
I hold my own.
Exactly. Nurses have a lot of chutzpah too, right? Making things happen. So I just wanted to ask how you resolve conflict when you disagree. Like, what do you do? What's your process?
What?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's similar to the earlier answer of it depends on the nature of the conflict. So setting aside minor things that, one person or the other doesn't care about that much. I take the question to be, there's a big conflict.
Yes.
Well, we talk about it. We try to understand each other's positions.
Late at night.
Yeah, sometimes that happens late at night. Well, I do not enjoy having those conversations late at night when I'm tired, but sometimes they need to happen then.
Yeah.
So I think the process is we talk about it until we can come to some sort of consensus. I don't think there's ever been a major conflict where that hasn't resulted in, I use the word consensus broadly, right? Like I might say, I disagree with you on this, but I see where you're coming from. And, I'm okay with that for some time or to some extent or something, right? Like I just think talking to each other about it is essential.
Do you feel like you've been able to figure out how to avoid some of the pitfalls that, because humans, we kind of have patterns that we repeat. And conflict, I think, is one of them where we sometimes will do the same routine more than once. And, trying to figure out, okay, this is a pitfall for us. How do we avoid going here when we could, turn the other direction?
I think, or were you going to say?
I'll say something quickly and then go ahead. One pitfall that I have is, I don't, even though I'm a lawyer, I don't love conflict.
He doesn't.
So I don't enjoy having those conversations.
Right. You'd just rather skip it altogether.
Much rather skip it. I have learned the hard way that approach is not a good idea because if the underlying problem doesn't get addressed in some way, or at least discussed in some way,
it's not going away.
It doesn't go away. And then I've actually added fuel to the fire because now it seems like I'm not paying attention to a need.
Or not engaged.
Yeah. So the pattern that I need to make a conscious effort to avoid is trying to avoid the conflict. I need to address the conflict in a thoughtful way rather than put it off. Because if you put off conflict discussions to a more convenient time, it's really easy to never find a more convenient time.
Or find a really inconvenient time.
Yeah. So that's at least.
I think that's a really good point. And especially I think if you put it off, and like you say, it's easy to never find a time, then sometimes then other things develop as a result of that. Like, oh, now we dance around this issue because we've never actually resolved it. And so now we have this other weird dysfunction that we're dealing with.
Yeah. And I think what he said kind of dovetails nicely into what I was going to say, which is that I think that our relationship I wouldn't call it a pitfall necessarily, but has fallen or is part of I think different relationships psychology was my first love, right? So different relationships have different patterns in them, a lot of times based off of whatever attachment style you have. So my beloved husband is an avoidant and I'm an anxious person. And so that, and unfortunately, apparently from what I've read and listened to other people it's a very common pairing
dynamic.
And so the avoidance, in the beginning, everything is great and everything was wonderful and still is. But there are times when an avoidant, sees the conflict, wants to avoid. The anxious person feels like, you don't love me anymore. Why are you avoiding me? Let's talk about this. They get kind of anxious and then kind of just really gets into the avoidant
follows them from room to room.
That's certainly never happened. And then, the avoidant avoids even more. And that just this vicious cycle where, and then, maybe you'll work it out. But if that, whatever it is, does not get resolved, like you said, now there's a history of this happening. And then we still go through that cycle back and forth of,
and it might elevate things. So do you think that, because you said something in the last time we talked that I loved, do you think that you have come up with strategies for how to frame your thoughts about what it is you want to communicate? Because I think sometimes that pattern, especially if you've got some personality differences on top of it, sometimes that pattern can really be amplified, if one person is communicating in one way and is a certain, and the other person prefers it to be really logical and, and so do you remember what I'm talking about? You had mentioned sometimes text.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
So we will text each other when we're fighting sometimes because it's easier to be nice. When things are heated and you can sit back and you can read what you write and you can edit it and you can, it's not really what I want to say. Is that how I want to say it? Like what is coming across? Now the downfall is you don't have tone, but sometimes it's good that you don't have tone because sometimes the tone's not always going to be the nicest tone. And so it's good that there's no tone there.
And you're framing your thoughts more clearly, right?
And there's a record. So you can't say, well, you said blah, 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 because it's right there. I have a whole transcript of.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. That's good. And in the new world, we'll have speakers all around us and they'll just be recording everything we say. And we'll say, Alexa, go back 3 minutes.
Well, I mean, we've had verbal back and forths where you have literally said, I wish we had a transcript. To refer to, and maybe that's just because you're a lawyer, but I wish I could see what was actually said so that we can figure out what really happened here. Maybe this was a miscommunication.
Exactly. One thing that my husband says often, and I think it's such a great term, is he always says things like, I think we just need to make some, slight adjustments. It's just, sometimes it's a small adjustment that needs to be made in one direction or another. And has felt like this big thing, but it really maybe just needs a small adjustment. So I really like that. So I think, and another thing you said that I thought was great was the concept of running it through ChatGPT to,
Yeah.
And what do you do? Tell us about that.
So, when I'm composing my texts, sometimes I do it just to outside of the context of arguing, just to be funny. There was one time where we were running and he had injured his back or something. Mm-hmm. And there may have been an I told you so moment. And I, put it into ChatGPT. I said, ChatGPT, tell my husband, basically, I told you so, but I still love you, but make it sound like it's coming from HR. And so then I send that to him and sometimes that's fun. But, no, sometimes I will use AI if I have a thought where I'm texting and I'm like, that's not quite what I mean. I want to say this. Sometimes you can use those tools to better get at what you're trying to convey than I would be able to do on my own. Mm-hmm. And so that can be helpful sometimes, I think.
Yeah.
Not a replacement for actual marriage counseling or therapy, which we've also done. And I think we did it before I went to nursing school. Just to make sure, hey, he's been working. I'm about to be really busy. Here are some issues that haven't even happened yet, but that I foresee happening. Can we discuss these? And it's been nice having.
That must have been fun. Yeah. Those issues that you foresee might happen. It's I don't even want to talk about the ones that are happening.
But it's helpful. And I think that, any kind of therapy, but be it couples counseling or individual is important and should be normalized and talking about.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. Yeah. It's one of the beautiful luxuries of living in a modern society. I think it really is.
I'll add 2 related points. One is I have noticed that sometimes when she consults ChatGPT, it helps to, I don't know what it is, but ChatGPT will say, why don't you say it this way? And
more gently.
A little more gently.
I don't even know what the difference is, but for some reason that often is oh, now I see where you're coming from. Oh. And maybe it's because ChatGPT suggests a more, here's what I'm feeling rather than here's what you did sort of.
ChatGPT is nicer than me. That's really what
I wouldn't put it that way, but I think that it, I don't know. Without identifying why, I think that, messages that have been reviewed by ChatGPT for some reason hit better with me.
It might be something you just said, though, because I have heard this from a number of experts that when you frame your comment about how you feel, right? If you say, I feel, so say you're working late every night. And you say, I feel overwhelmed, lonely, missing you, and it's not working for me. And you say it that way instead of, you're working late every night and I can't stand it. That's a very different message, right? To say, I feel instead of you are doing this thing. I mean, do you think that, and maybe ChatGPT knows the research.
Yeah. I mean, that may be, right? Because when you say, when you say, I'm feeling a certain way, then my reaction is, well, I don't want you to feel that way. Right. But if the message is, you're doing this, it's like, well, but I have reasons and here are my reasons for doing it. And that's not,
Exactly. No, so that's a good insight.
Yeah. The second somewhat related thing I'll say is I have learned, in addition to sort of having the conversation, is to just sort of let the steam out first, if that makes sense. So like,
how do you do that?
By just letting
you just say it.
No. I guess
no. I think he means my steam.
I did mean that, but the advice could apply to either of us. If someone's feeling
pretty revved up,
revved up, like sort of let that person talk for a while. Like let that person rev down on their own. I have found that to be more productive than
then engaging right away.
Yeah. So, I think
and I think that kind of goes, at least for us, when it comes to managing like conflict or disagreements or anything like that, a lot of it has been more, I would say, even learning how to navigate what the other person means by what they are saying. There's like the literal meaning of what they are saying. And then there's the underlying need that's coming from. Like, I know that we've had times where we've been having some disagreement about something or other, and I'll give like 10 different examples. I have a good memory, and I'll remember the 10 different things, 10 different times that whatever happened. And to me, what that meant is like, this is a big deal for me. I remember all of these things. This is like a recurring issue. Like, but what I mean that is like, this is 10 different examples of my one problem, which is whatever it is, right? But the way that he was interpreting that is
10 offenses.
10 different things that you did wrong that I need to respond to, which wasn't really what I was meaning.
You were actually just providing support for your thesis.
Well, that, and I've learned that I'm a verbal processor. So sometimes I'll start talking and I don't even know what I feel or what I mean yet. And so I'm, and he is just hearing all of these things that he did wrong or that, is going wrong in some capacity.
I have to revert to my debate experience to get a notepad and write everything down so I know what to refute.
No. There's only one point.
Oh, okay.
The one point is whatever,
Yes. And it might be, I'm feeling X.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of it does, I feel like, ultimately come down to, I'm feeling this. I have this like need that's not met. And then even him just being like, I'm sorry you feel that way. Even that just sometimes is like, thanks. That's really all I needed. You know what I mean?
I know John and Julie Gottman, I'm sure you've read their stuff, say that oftentimes when a spouse comes home, one needs to say, here was my day. And the other one needs to say, poor baby. And then the other one says, here was my day. And the other one, poor baby. That's what we all need on a daily basis, because there is a lot of challenge, right? And so we need that. Just kind of a little bit of comfort, and then sometimes it comes out feeling like this is about the other person when it may not be at all, and it's really just about trying to sort that through. So yeah, it's a lot, and I guess I want to ask you guys how you feel about just conflict overall, because one of the couples that I interviewed recently, they just didn't do conflict at all. And I was like, wow, it's a miracle. How are they doing that? And, I don't know how we've been married almost 39 years. And I think, wow, think we would have made it if we hadn't had a lot of conflict. So, I mean, I just see it different, and I see every couple does it differently, I guess is what I would say. So how do you feel about conflict? Is it something, I mean, I know we've kind of got Josh is maybe a little more would prefer to avoid it, but you've changed your mind on that a little bit on the benefits
I would
of avoiding
say,
it?
yeah, well, okay. A couple thoughts. One, I still have a knee-jerk reaction to not have conflict. It's not something I enjoy.
Yeah. You don't run toward it.
Yeah. Two, the basic premise of the justice system in which I operate is that conflict is good because you have two sides presenting their opposing views in court, and that helps the court reach the best decision. That's literally the premise of our justice system. So I recognize at an abstract level, conflict's actually really good because when you have two people with different views, and those people thoughtfully listen to what the others have to say, it reaches the best result. So I get that. Although I still have a knee-jerk reaction, I don't enjoy conflict. I recognize the value of it. And I think it's just about how you go about resolving it, or not even resolving all the time, but addressing it and identifying it and understanding, each person's position. Frankly, sometimes our conflicts help me understand my own position, because when I have to explain why I feel a certain way, sometimes I think, although I don't always admit, oh yeah, I don't have a fantastic reason for thinking that. So maybe my mind, it could be changed. Yeah. Yeah. So, that was a kind of rambly answer.
No, that's fine. I think I appreciate the insights. And I do think that conflict overall is something that, I mean, on the whole, most people probably would say, could we just skip that? But, I always feel like we're usually closer after resolved conflict, because that way you're able to, now we're even more on the same page, I guess, in that way, because one of us has moved this way and one of us has moved this way, and now we're closer together a little bit. So there's something really satisfying about that. I mean, would you agree to that?
Yes.
Agree with that?
I don't like conflict, but I like having had conflict. And I think that's why my natural tendency is to run towards conflict, because I see conflict as a monster that you're going to have to deal with at some point, and I would much rather just get it over with. So I am, okay, we're going to talk about this right now. Yeah. Even if it's 11:30, I want to just get it over with.
And get it solved. Well, thank you so much for talking about that. Okay. Tell me a little about your families. I guess just in terms of how your families have, if they've played a role in supporting your marriage. How's that? I mean, do you feel like that's been the case?
Yeah. I mean, especially in the last 2 years, as far as
you've been in school.
I've been in school, as people helping pick up kids. My lovely parents made us, there was a period of time, I think in my first semester, where a good 4 or 5 nights out of the week, they would drop dinner off at our house. My dad would knock on the door and say DoorDash, and he just would make extra of whatever they were having. And that was incredibly helpful when that happened. And, watching kids and, stuff like that, so that we can go on a date or,
So that's been really nice. How's that been for you, Josh?
Yeah. So, it reminds me of a joke I heard. So,
oh no.
Yeah. I think Gabby's dad, this joke applies to Gabby's dad. So, I heard someone say, as a kid, I distinctly remember watching my dad work on the car to help me out. And that was really valuable because as a grown-up, as an adult, I still enjoy watching my dad work on my car to help me out. So Gabby's dad, for example, has still helps
He's
us
still
out
working on the car.
He literally worked on something with his headlight today while he was, because they both work downtown and their office buildings are close. So I think my dad went over there over lunch and was tinkering on his headlight or something. And then
but it's really nice to have family support when the kids are young, especially. So yeah, I think it's been great to have family, extended family around.
That's nice.
On her side and on mine.
Yeah.
And I asked that question only because now you've been married 15 years almost. It's early on. I think sometimes it feels not so like some people are like, oh, get away from the in-laws. You know,
Right.
I think that there can be that vibe. Sometimes not at all, but you know, just judging from sometimes here at the venue, there are a lot of dynamics. And so, I like to hear how that goes.
Yeah. Well, I think it, it helps that his side of the family, is very chill.
Oh,
very, very chill.
I can imagine that.
Yeah.
That's what
Some genetic loading there for chillness.
My side of the family is a little bit less chill, but they make up for that, I think. And they're very
goodwill
helpful and goodwill. And they're helpful. And,
that's nice.
The less chill has never really affected our family or our marriage or anything like that. It's just, they're just more, I don't want to say, I guess they're more involved, but more so because your family, he has a sister who also has kids. And
so there's like a lot of demand.
There's a little bit more on his side for his family to do. Mm-hmm. So my mom and dad are a little bit closer to our house, I think, too. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
I think you were alluding to something earlier in something you said. I think there's generally a trade-off between how active in-laws are and how much control they might implicitly, inadvertently be exercising. And so I think that the more actively involved in-laws are, the more that might be misperceived as trying to exercise control. Mm-hmm. So, but on the other hand, the less involved, so my side of the family, sometimes I think, well, I'm surprised that, my dad hasn't, reached out or, come by or something. So it's just a different lifestyle. And there are pros and cons, I think, with each
method.
Yeah.
It's true. And I think sometimes what I like that you're pointing out is I think as we go through life and, as you are in that young adult stage and young children or young married, that you are going through a life stage yourself. And so there's a lot of autonomy that is growing and independence. And so I do think there is some, it's hard to say exactly how much help you really want. Right. How much involvedness you really want. Maybe on one day you might really appreciate having some, and on the very next day you're like, would these people please leave us alone?
Yeah. Well, and I think it also helps that like my mom says that I am just a female version of my dad, basically.
Oh, okay.
So my mom knows that I like things done a certain way and that I have certain,
So she's already spent 50 years learning.
She knows exactly how to, what mom's rules are. And my kids will remind her sometimes. They'll be like, I don't think mom would want us to do that.
Right.
And so it's funny, but
it is.
So I think that helps with
those family relationships. No, that's really nice. Okay. Tell me a little about if, thinking about something that you really love about one another. I always like to hear if you have just something you really admire or love about your partner.
You go first.
Sure.
Kidding.
I'm happy to. I can't remember if I mentioned this last time or not, but I think Gabby, when she undertakes a task, I am confident that she will follow through and that she will, she's got it. Yeah. I think it's really nice to have a team where you can rely on your teammate. And I feel like I have that.
Nice.
And so,
that's such a nice quality.
Yeah. And it's not something that that's something that I was, I think, fine. That's something that I was fortunate, because it's not something it's not something that was remotely on my radar, when we were dating or even when we first got married. But it turns out to be an important trait.
An important trait because when you're dating and when you're in that pre-marriage stage, you don't have the work of life coming at you quite as hot and heavy as you do once you're right. And having someone in the trenches that you can trust becomes, that was a huge bonus.
Right.
Yeah, that's good. I love that. Okay. What about you, Gabby?
I really appreciate, Josh, I said this in our, when we graduate from nursing school, we have like a pinning ceremony and you get to give like a 30-second thank you to all the people who helped you through nursing school.
Oh,
and I said, I know, it actually wasn't so bad because I did speech and debate. So I was like,
so you were ready to go.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I said that he was the calm to my chaos.
Oh,
and I really appreciate that he is literally he is very mellow. And I appreciate that he is willing to change his mind. And as much as sometimes I want to say you're being stubborn, you're being whatever, I know that in general, he is a very thoughtful person who will like very carefully consider everything he says and everything he believes. And I admire that about him. And I also admire that even if worst came to worst, even if that were to happen, he would put our kids first. He would, anything that he felt that I was a stay-at-home mom for a long time. I'm fully confident that he would still like do what he could to take care of me. And I think that just really speaks to like who he is as a person. Like I know his character. He loves me, even, if something like that were to happen, which is not going to happen. but like, he's just a genuinely good person. Even in those like worst case scenarios, I know he would continue to be that good person.
Yeah, that's a very, very high praise for both of you. Yeah, it's amazing. I love that. Okay, now is there anything that you've learned? I'm just going to have to accept this about my partner because they're not changing.
Yes.
I always feel like there are lots of things that are wonderful, and I'm sure it's hard to even narrow it down to a few. And there's probably a few things that you think, okay, this is a thing I need to accept and learn to love.
Yes.
Yeah. What have you got?
Sure. Gabby mentioned my relative mellowness. Gabby is, if there's a mellowness spectrum, I'm on one side and Gabby is on the other side of that.
Yeah.
And so
bringing a lot of sparkle.
Yes.
I like that.
Sparkle. Yes. So that's something that I have accepted. That is
exactly.
It's her personality, a part of her personality.
That's part of it.
Josh is mellow. And that is something that like I have accepted in the sense that just like love languages. Josh, I mean, to a very big degree, I think we're both very cerebral people.
Yeah.
I'm not normally a touchy-feely person at all. I'm not a big hugger, like, don't touch me. But like romantically or like in an intimate, like with my kids, I'm gonna squeeze you, snuggle me, hug me, put your arm around me. No, you don't have to. It's okay. But like, he's not a big touchy-feely, like physical guy. And that it's fine. Just how it is. But like, I've also learned that like, he shows his love in ways that sometimes I don't see, when he, what are something? I can't tell you how many times my car has been filled up with gas. And I'm like, how did gas fairy visited? Yeah. And it's just like, it's just really nice to have those little, like the little thoughtful things that he does like that. And that's the way that he shows his love. And it's not the touchy feely, that I want, but he can do that. He's capable.
I love that. I love that point, Gabby, because I think one of the things that I see out in the world now, especially on social media and other places, there's kind of this concept of, I have the way that I want to be loved. And so I need everyone to love me in that way. And I think that the more you're able to broaden how you can accept love the way other people can give it to you, then the more love you'll be able to receive. So you're kind of saying this is how he shares his love. And I'm good with that. I'm going to notice that and let that in and really appreciate it. And so I think that's a really nice thing because and if you say, gosh, but I still love snuggling and touching. No, you don't like it that much.
Unless it's him.
Unless it's him. Okay. So you are snuggly with
him, only with him.
So so I just say, just snuggle right up and that'll be okay.
Oh, I do. I definitely do.
Yeah. So that's nice. Okay. Well, excellent. I appreciate you sharing those because I know it's hard to think a little bit. It's kind of hard to think about what are the things that because acceptance is such a big part of living with someone and learning to really love the things about them that are different from you, right? Or just a little bit different. Okay. So tell me a little about how you feel about commitment. Has that come up in these 15 years? Has commitment been something that you've talked about, or how has it played out as you've gone through the different iterations of stages, maybe I would say, of where you've been? Has commitment played a part?
Yes, but like for me, it's sort of just a background current. It is the through line, I don't know what word I'm looking for, but the connecting piece of all of it. That is just, at least and I would assume on your part as well, just knowing who you are, like it's just a basic assumption that is,
that's a value that you both share.
Yeah.
Yeah. A mutual friend of ours, whom I will not name, her philosophy, I remember her telling us this before she got married, was like, I don't know what the big deal is about commitment. You just get married, and if you enjoy it, great. And if you stop, leave. And that has never been my personal philosophy. And I don't think that was yours either going into it. So like, that's not how we viewed the marriage going into it. And so that basic conception of marriage of, we're making vows that are lifelong.
So that means that for better or for worse, and there might be a few worse times too.
So
and lots of better times.
Yeah. So I think it's a somber, important, and ultimately fulfilling thing to view marriage as a serious commitment. So,
and I agree with that, but I think it's also just kind of adding to that, important to acknowledge that, sometimes life happens and those commitments, for whatever reason, don't work out. And that sometimes it is the best thing to, and I think that's something that it's going to depend on every relationship, and that every couple is going to have to navigate for themselves. But I think, again, because we got married very young, we came from very similar backgrounds, and we've spent our lives together, that I just don't see that in our future, it's just not the way that we operate, So,
and I think, the other thing with commitment is that I've thought a lot about is your future self. So you don't, your future self, because I feel like I'm kind of in an age where, I'm a little more my future. So, there's that I think, boy, I'm sure glad I made certain decisions, that when something was maybe difficult, I didn't decide to bail, because I think that future self, it's like, wow, there might be a hard year, or there might be a hard couple of years.
Yeah.
And then, but your future self may see it differently.
Yeah. My grandmother had a saying that she told me when I was young, because she got married so my great grandmother got married very, very young. She was, I think, 17. My grandmother was 18. My mom was 26. I was 21. So, all pretty young. But my grandmother used to say that an 18-year-old girl doesn't know what a 45-year-old woman wants, which I think I wouldn't say it's lucky, because again, we were friends for a long time before then. But I think a lot of that can influence, just the direction of your marriage. If
your whole
when you go into it young, sometimes it works out. But,
what about forgiveness. Is that something you guys talk about very much, or is that something that you feel like you've had to practice often in your marriage?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think, I don't know about you, but forgiveness isn't really something that I consciously think about necessarily. It's something that just sometimes happens. Sometimes it happens because I'm emotionally exhausted and I realize it's not worth it. Like maybe this comes down to one of those things just about who he is that's not going to change. And I need to accept that. And at the end of the day, I am making a mountain out of a molehill. Sometimes I've described it in the past as like a moth to the flame. Like all I can see is the issue that we're having. And that's why it seems like this big deal. And then I go to bed and I wake up the next morning and I'm like,
why was that?
Why did I even care about that? Yeah. Or sometimes I'll be mad and then I'll be, I don't know, scrolling social media or whatever, or I'll find something and I'm like, oh, this is funny. I got to show him. And I show him and I'm like, wait, I can't.
I'm so mad at you.
Yeah. Yeah. So a lot of it, again, and that's where that friendship, I think, really helps.
Yeah. That's true. What about you, Josh, with forgiveness? Is that something that you think about ever? Or how does that work for you?
Yeah. So I do think about it. I can think of a couple ways it plays in. One is like if we have a heated discussion or a heated argument. I have found it helpful. I don't do this a lot, but sometimes like if I'm going to go take a walk around the neighborhood just to gain some perspective and think about life more generally. I think that helps me understand where she's coming from in a way that is just easier for me to do when I have some solitude.
I hate it so much.
I know, but
it does help.
Yeah. So to me, forgiveness is at least partially about understanding where the other person's coming from. And so, recognizing that I make mistakes too. And not to say that it's always a mistake on the other person's part, right? So I think forgiveness is a lot about trying to understand where the other person's coming from and recognizing that, hey, you're not perfect either. Both of those basic truths, I think, are important to keep in mind.
And I feel like that, this to me goes back to what I said before where, I'm biased, but I think he is just such a good person where there have been many times that he's much better at this than I am, where I'm, going off the rails or I'm really upset about something. And the moments in our marriage where he has just like listened and then said, I'm really sorry. And that's it. Like no defending himself, no whatever. Like even if he has a wonderful case that he could make, like sometimes like just like the times that where he has said that, I have thought, oh, wow.
I was getting all geared up.
Yeah. Well, then sometimes on the one hand, sometimes it can be kind of hard because it's like, no, I'm not done being mad yet. Hang on, But on the other hand, there have been times too where I'm like, you know what? That was awesome. That was really big of you. And maybe I shouldn't be so upset about this. Like maybe not, like now I can see that, like, you know what? It's actually, it's okay. It's okay. You're sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry I got so upset about it. And like sometimes that first I'm sorry, which he is better at initiating than I am, to be honest, is the floodgates that open up to allow for that forgiveness and for that, all of that stuff that needs to happen to resolve conflict.
So I love that you said that the first I'm sorry, because I think in any this is my belief, in any conflict that obviously there's probably some sorry on both sides but whoever can get there first can manage to get there first to say I'm sorry. I think it's like it does open the floodgates for the other person to also see what they've contributed to that conflict. So those two I'm sorry, the first I'm sorry, I think maybe that's a good goal. Who can be the first to I'm sorry? It's a hard goal. But I think it really is huge, and it does take a lot of digging deep and, future self thinking. So yeah, I really love that. Okay. So tell me, if you were going to go back and talk to your younger selves. Okay. So if you go back to that guy who was standing right here, You were on this, he was on this side. And then what would you say to your younger self about,
What would you say?
about, maybe not just what to expect, but what that guy thought versus what this guy knows?
Do you want me to go first? What do you think about it?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. For me, I would probably let myself know in advance the things that I cannot fix and cannot change. Like, don't even waste your time on this. This is not going to change. It's not worth trying.
You mean things about Josh's personality?
Or things about like whatever our dynamic is would be, look, this is what you have to look forward to. Mm-hmm. You'll get through it. It's going to be fine. Mm-hmm. I would tell myself, enjoy your time before kids. We love our kids. I would die for my children, but enjoy it while you have it.
Yeah.
So, someone at work said her two favorite things are spending time with her kids and spending time away from her kids.
Oh, that's so funny. That's a good, that's a really good way to, state it. Huh?
The kids changed everything. Mm-hmm. And I would just let myself know, hey, that's in your future and you'll make it through it and it'll be fine. And, you'll be better for it.
Mm-hmm. I love that.
Don't try to fix what ain't broken.
Don't try to fix everything. That's right. That's good. I like that. Okay. What about you?
I think the biggest thing I probably would say is, hey, I know that, you met Gabby in the context of the speech and debate team, but actually the much more productive path when you guys are having a disagreement is to just let her say her piece and understand where she's coming from rather than approach it like a debate, because that's not what it is. And, you're on a team. Mm-hmm. And so you should really try to hear where she's coming from and hear what she's saying. Cause I still struggle with it sometimes, but I think I've gotten there, but I could have gotten there sooner if I had my older self tell me that earlier.
That's something that I would tell his younger self.
That's a twist on her.
It took me a second to realize this about myself, and that I would just let his younger self know. Yeah. I don't get mad. I don't get sad. I get angry. Anger is a feeling you can control, and I do like to feel like I'm in control. And it took a lot of time to realize that. And I think you've slowly realized over time that a lot of times when I am angry or I seem like I'm angry at him, I'm actually really deeply hurting. And I'm not expressing that in a way that is reflective of that. And that makes it harder for him. Mm-hmm. Which isn't to say that that he should just accept that. Obviously that's something that's a growth area for me that I need to work on.
Well, anger is a really energizing emotion. Mm-hmm. It's a powerful emotion, right? Yeah. And sadness is a lot more
draining,
less control and less. So I think sadness and hurt and and even though those are, if we can allow ourselves to feel those things, then it's a lot easier to be able to get to the place where we're understanding one another. But that's a challenge. Yeah, those are some great insights, guys. I love that. Those are some really good thinking. Okay, so in addition to love, what do you think makes a marriage last?
Friendship. I know we've talked about friendship a lot. It sounds a little corny, but I think if you don't have that, what do you everyone gets old. Everyone, your bodies fail you. Your kids grow up and move out. Mm-hmm. So if you don't have anything foundationally there, what do you got?
Makes it harder, for sure. Would you agree with that, or do you have another thing to add?
Both. I agree that friendship is really important. Mm-hmm. I think that being willing to talk to each other, even when the conversation is unpleasant, is also really important. Mm-hmm. So, keeping the line of communication open is, I think, really important to a long marriage. And I also think, going back to something I said earlier, I think having fundamental shared values is really important too. Mm-hmm. Because, a conflict where we both want the same thing, but we disagree on how to do it is a very different conflict from, no, we want fundamentally different things.
Right.
That's a lot harder to resolve, that kind of conflict.
It's like you're going like this and you're sort of arguing about it instead of going.
Yeah. Like if you want fundamentally different things, well, that's hard to resolve. Then you're looking at maybe a compromise, not a way to get what we both want. It's like, well, then let's have half the time you get what you want, half the time what I want. That's just a harder type of conflict to resolve, I think.
I think too, and you were kind of talking about that, but like when you start at that fundamental place, like I'm almost 15 years older than I was when we got married, and my opinions on a lot of things have changed.
Right.
And we probably agree less now on some things, but again, because that fundamental piece is there, it's more like boop instead of
huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. It is interesting about those because you do have, in our long marriage, I think we've had differences of opinion where for even a couple of years, like, we might vote for different candidates or we might have, just differences of opinion, and then we'll come back together and on that particular topic, and then we'll see it differently for a while, and then, and then we'll switch. So that happens because people, it's like, our right to change our mind about what we think as new information comes in. Right. So yeah, I think that's interesting. That's a really good point. So, okay. Well, is there any thoughts that you have that I haven't asked you about? You've been so wonderful and so insightful and so just thoughtful. And yeah, I really appreciate you sharing. But do you have thoughts that anything on marriage, anything you feel like people could really learn from your marriage in particular?
Good question.
I guess I'd say marriages can be messy, but just embrace that.
Embrace the messy.
Embrace the messy. Kids are
super messy.
Embrace that.
If there's anything I've learned in those 2 years of nursing, I was a stay-at-home mom. I kept my house. I liked things a certain way.
Yeah.
My house was always clean all the time and everything was done and wonderful. And then I started
And
school,
now it's not.
I can't do it anymore. And so everything just kind of fell apart and I had to embrace the mess, literally and figuratively.
So. Yeah, exactly. That sometimes you're trading one thing for a different thing, a different experience in life. So yeah. Wow. Well, I'm just so proud of you guys. I really am. I'm so thrilled that I really appreciate you coming and sharing your thoughts and your beautiful insights, and just that you're really in the thick of it. You guys have your two beautiful girls and you're both growing your careers and you're keeping this marriage strong. And that's a lot of things, and keeping your relationships up. So I just want to congratulate you. You have a lot to celebrate, a lot to be proud of, a lot to, it's a lot. It's a lot. It's a big life. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
All righty.